Thank you. And so begins their second episode of Coffee Anyone, the show from the heart of the Mountain State that differs from most YouTube shows in one important way. It doesn't feature a bunch of early 20s kids with purple hair swearing at each other over Discord because their Fortnite skirmish went wrong, and it's literally the worst thing that ever happened. Today is, of course, another fantastic day in beautiful Buchanan, and we have our guest today, a local, naturally, to Buchanan. She's also an accomplished writer and reporter for the Record Delta, and a social worker. She's a well-known politically active figure here in town. And what are you enjoying this afternoon? Drink-wise?
Tea.
Yes. Some wonderful tea. Green tea. And courtesy of our kind hosts here in Doremi, of course, on College Avenue. We'll get to know our esteemed guest, Alison Harrison, a little bit in a moment. But first, let's welcome the brains, the brawn, the beauty of the operation, the man who couldn't also resist a cheeky wee tea himself, your Questmaster General, Dr. Ali Khan.
Thank you.
Now, would you like to explain a little bit about how you guys met, what your relationship is?
Well, it was interesting, and I think I've been doing this thing for a little while. Sometimes I'll see somebody that I may have differences with, and I would invite them for coffee. Mm-hmm. So something happened. We won't go into details of it. No. So we won't go into details. So there was a little bit of a conflict. And what ended up happening is we exchanged some texts, mm-hmm. and we decided we'll meet for coffee. And
nice texts, nothing angry.
Yeah,
okay.
Nothing angry. So the same thing happened. We talked, mm-hmm. and we became friends. Mm-hmm. It was awesome. And the same thing I've been saying to everybody is just call somebody instead of texting. Sending messages on Facebook, just meet somebody. Mm-hmm. Just sit down with them, and you'll find you have a lot of common things with them. Mm-hmm. And we did.
Right.
And I think we are good friends now.
We are very good friends.
So, and that was far more important that you met, that you got together, that you had a good time, and that you got to feel a connection, rather than just sort of scoring points over each other.
Absolutely. Don't you think, Alison?
Yes.
Yeah. It was great. I'm actually sad. We just found out Alison is actually, well, not sad for her, but she's going to Mississippi. Her husband got a really nice job, mm-hmm. and I predicted he would get it. And we're sad she's leaving.
Right.
But I am glad I have a friend and I have some place to go to when I go to Mississippi, if it's okay with her husband.
Mm-hmm. and this is the 21st century, so, friendships don't have to end over distance.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think we still talk, and we regularly. Actually, sometimes I will text her now, back on the text. Now we are friends, so we can text.
Right.
So we will text each other. If I see something going on, I will ask her, what do you think about something? And I think it's turned out good. Mm-hmm. And I think you can vouch for that people should, if they have differences, just don't sit on Facebook and start sending messages, angry messages. The anger gets worse and worse. Just sit down face to face, and you'll find you have really, really good rapport with people. Mm-hmm. There are some people you're never going to change.
Right.
There are a few that it's very difficult. But smart people can get together and have...
right, and it shouldn't be about changing somebody. It should be about just,
absolutely.
Just accepting that person and loving that person for who they are and what they are.
Absolutely, and most of the time, actually, people agree on most of those things.
Yeah.
So, first question.
Hit me.
Are you excited?
About tonight or
No, going to Mississippi.
I'm very excited. A little apprehensive. Neither one of us have ever been anywhere but here. Our families are here, our parents, our children, but we're empty nesters, so we're not like leaving behind little kids for other people to deal with.
Right.
But, so yeah, we're our parents are getting elderly, and we worry about leaving them, but we're really excited to new year.
Great.
New state, new city, new chapter, new jobs.
Well, I'm sure you'll fit in very well, and you have you're a social worker also, and there's always a need for social workers, so you'll do very well there. What about, are you going to continue to write over there?
You know, I saved every copy of the newspaper just in case somebody wanted a writing sample or something to critique, whatever.
Right.
You know, the layout in the chicken coop down there in the South. I don't know, whatever they use it for. But I've thought about it. But it's a lot easier here because I know everybody.
Right.
I thought about that when I was having coffee with my mom earlier today.
Right.
I was like, wow, I'm going to be going somewhere where I go in, like 3 people are walking by saying, hi, how are you, talking, and nobody's going to know me.
Well, I'm going to come to some tough questions now.
Okay.
These are really tough.
Okay.
These
are really tough. So now I've known you now, and I find you to be a very, very kind, nice person who I've never seen say anything bad about anybody. Now, out there now, there's a lot of anger, and some people on the left, on the right, will say some things that are intolerant. What do you have to say to those folks? Now, I know you're the head of the Republican women over here, and I wish there was a head of Democratic women over here too, so we can ask the same question. I'm sure we'll get them. But what I would ask you is, what would you say to the people who may be intolerant, whether they are on the left or whether they are on the right?
Well, like I've told you, I don't really look at it as left and right, regardless of my affiliation. I've always just wanted to be a good human being.
Right.
And unfortunately, everyone doesn't feel that way. Maybe they do. Maybe they want to be a good person, but they get caught up in their emotions or their ideologies about things. But what I would say to people on both sides is, like, it's not hard to just be kind. If you don't agree with what other people say or what other people think, that doesn't make them your enemy. That doesn't cause reason for dissension and divide. I would think that as adults that we could come to understand that we can agree to just disagree.
Absolutely.
I think in many ways we have a deficit of what I call bloody fine then, where if you're in an argument with someone and you're throwing backwards and forwards and you realise that, you know, you're fighting for no real reason, and you go, bloody fine then, and you walk away from it. I think people have lost the ability to do a bloody fine then because it's so easy to just keep going at it harder and more, you know, intense online, don't you think?
Online, absolutely. Yeah. I don't really have a word for that syndrome or whatever it is, but just sitting there and just getting steamed and fueled, like, you know, it's just crazy how people are behind their keyboard, their computer, their phone, their iPad, whatever they're using, and they just continue to get angry and spew that. There's just, it's so uncalled for.
And we've noticed that sometimes when you say something hateful, somebody's taking screenshots. And then those screenshots will appear everywhere.
Right.
Okay, so either side, whatever you say, they'll come everywhere. You know, I actually used to get very, very angry. Very, very angry. I would look at some of those things, somebody saying something nasty about one religious group or the other religious group, something about folks in the LGBTQ community. And you have the, in my opinion, you have the right to have your own religious opinion, but you don't have to hate them.
Right.
And I found, Alison, that I think you believe the same way, don't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you can have differences there. Not every religion is exactly the same. So you can have that difference in your opinion or what you believe in but you don't have to hate anybody. You just be friends with them. Mm-hmm. You invite them for coffee. You just don't have to say, go away, you're useless, or whatever that may be. We are part of this country. We live under a constitution.
Yes.
And our faith belongs right here. Mm-hmm. But we live under laws. We should respect them, don't you think?
Absolutely.
See, that's why I like it.
My religion, that the God that I serve, says that we should obey the laws of the land.
Absolutely, mm-hmm. Absolutely. Same here. Mm-hmm. And I personally believe the Constitution of the United States is beautiful. But people still find some differences on that too. Well, this means this way. This means that way. But they do that in religion also. Well, yes. I think
interpretation.
Mm-hmm. The interpretation can. But a moral human being like yourself is always moral.
Yeah,
they're not going to do anything to harm anybody.
Right.
So that's why I like her.
Yes. Let me go backwards.
Sure.
And change the subject a little bit. Oh. I didn't think changing the subject would be so popular, but apparently...
Nobody liked what I was saying, so they clapped.
That's fine. Okay, good. Maybe they're like, the Australian guy's talking again. Yay!
The Scottish guy.
The Scottish guy, that's right. How does a social worker become a journalist?
That is a great question. My friend Matt Kerner asked me the same thing. Social work is what I went to college for, psychology, sociology. And growing up, I lived, what I called a normal life. Mm-hmm. I never knew about social services. DHHR was a foreign word to me. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I was nearing the end of school, the social services coming, the DHHR, and I'm like, that really interests me. And so I pursued that field, and it's a hard job. Mm-hmm. It's very stressful. It can be very draining, not just physically, but emotionally, removing kids and dealing with family problems. And, they get a bad rap a lot. And,
right.
Just like with any field, there are workers that aren't great workers and workers that are. And I've done several aspects of social work, but it just became depressing, mm-hmm. Where it was affecting me personally after so long. And I had a friend that came to me and was like, we need a reporter. I've taken this job at the paper and I'd really like to have you. I'm like, what do I know about mm-hmm. writing for a mm-hmm. newspaper? Well, you write reports all day, every day. Mm-hmm. And then the idea of not having to travel outside the county anymore, and mm-hmm. it was a big pay cut, don't get me wrong, but I wasn't worried about that. So that's how I became a social worker. I really needed, or a reporter, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. I really needed a change. And as I got into it, it was something that I was really enjoying, being connected back in my community, where before I was traveling all the time and not really involved in it. I mean, never read the paper. So I wasn't involved at all. And then I loved it. I do love it. I'm going to miss it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe you could still write some for the local newspaper. I'm sure they'll be able to fit you in. And actually, she was going to write a book about my life too. So
really?
Yeah. Uh-huh. It's going to be an interesting one.
I am not an established writer. Thank you for the little intro bio there, but I do it for fun.
Right.
I like it, and I like to get the word out about people and things that are going on. I don't really like any of the controversial things in the community, but to announce that somebody's running for office, or that somebody's doing, something with grant money for the opioid crisis, or churches, or whatever is going on in the community that's the really good philanthropic good deed type things. That's what I like to do.
What would you count as a controversial story?
No.
Oh, she's in trouble.
I'm pleading the mute button's on.
Okay, go to the second one. Don't use the first one. Just go to the second one.
Yeah.
I mean, we have all kinds of controversial stuff here in our small community. anything outside of just maybe announcing a candidacy or something to do with politics is definitely controversial in our community. When you say,
yeah, I think so.
Just because people don't agree on so many things,
right?
You know?
Right. So you're happy or sticking to the stuff that's more uniting.
Yes.
I can get with that. I can understand that.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that is probably as much of your social work experience that's behind that. Because I married a social worker as well, so
really,
I have heard a lot of things through the years that and what she said to me was that when she was working CPS, she said she couldn't do CPS once we had kids because you're too involved in that situation. You know, you see yourself in these situations, and I think that's probably where it comes from for you. I'm like analysing, you know.
No, that's but it's true, because the social worker, you know, people can identify, as much as they don't like social workers when they're in the situation,
right? Somebody
that they can talk to, someone that they can relate to. And one thing that I always learned, you know, dealing with people that were sexually abused and having to deal with the abuser, you know, you had to treat them with just as much respect as you did the victim. And so you learn that empathy and that compassion for people. And so those good stories, the really good things, I definitely can connect on that level. And
it feels like a victory writing something like that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You know, you get done, you get it in, you get it published, and you're hopefully you're making someone smile.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. Well,
which story were you most proud of?
Wow, that's a tough question. I was pretty proud of a story that I actually did today. You know, I don't really look at like my writing as the pride, but like the
response from the community.
And it hasn't been published yet, and I guess because I had a little bit of a personal tie to it, the Band of Brothers here in Buchanan. You know, they're Christian men from every church almost in the community is represented, and my dad is actually in the Band of Brothers.
Oh, wow.
And today they did check presentations to 8 different organizations from calendar sales that they sold throughout the year, and that impacts the youth all over the county.
Absolutely.
So that was I was pretty happy and proud to write that for all of those guys that like really put themselves out there, and they do give back in so many ways, and not just here in our community, but statewide and on an international level to different missions groups and stuff. So
that's great.
That's a lot of fun writing something like that.
Yeah.
Something you can really, you know. And I hate to say I'm a writer. I have written things, but I'm nothing like a writer. But once you get on that train and you keep going and you keep going and you keep going, and it works and it's just looking good and it sounds good, and you know it's a good topic. Once you're done, you're like,
yes,
you know?
That's how I was feeling at 5:30 today. It's done.
That's great. So it's going to be in
Saturday's paper. Yes,
that's great.
Yeah,
we'll be looking forward to it.
Thanks.
Good. So let's start beating each other up about politics for some fun. How about we do that for the next 10 minutes or so? I have to ask about the job that you guys are leaving for. Can I be nosy?
Oh, absolutely.
Am I allowed to be nosy?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Tell me more about the move.
Well, my husband and I have been in oil and gas for a little over 10 years.
Okay.
And it's a great industry. You know, it feeds a lot of families, especially here locally, but we've experienced what we call boom and bust. You're either like high on the mountain and everything's good, or you're down in the valley trying to climb your way out. And
it's unpredictable in that way as well.
Very, very. You know, it can come overnight.
Yeah.
And my husband's a really smart guy. and he has a lot of safety credentials and is actually finishing his safety degree online right now. And he was recruited by a really big national company. I always call it Koch. I get corrected. Coke Industries.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Right.
They own Georgia Pacific.
Okay.
Oh.
Who has plants and manufacturing companies all over, and they recruited him to a safety management position.
Great.
Yeah.
Well,
That's wonderful.
So I'm like so proud of him and so relieved. And
Well, he's right here in the audience, actually.
Yes. Yay!
I was just thinking it would be the height of irony if he got a paper cut on his safety application.
Yes, he would.
No.
Do you have any more questions?
Anything else you'd like to tell us?
No, I just would just only say that I was really honored that you asked me to be your guest on this podcast.
Absolutely.
I really enjoyed the first one that I saw that Dr. Khan sent to me. I was like, oh, this is going to be great. This is going to be funny. And I've never done anything like this. The closest thing I've ever done to this is like making fun of the girls who do the videos with my best friend, like, which we would never show anyone. But then her ex-husband actually put it on Facebook once. So I'm like, oh, my hair. Oh, my gosh, the camera's going to add more pounds. But I honestly was really proud, and
absolutely.
I told my parents I was doing this, and told my husband, and he's like, "No, I'm not going to be in that video. I'm not going to be in that podcast."
If you want, we can get him here.
Yeah.
He'll be famous, and a lot of people will see him.
Right.
And my mom thought it was just so neat that I was doing it. She's like, "Yeah, I don't know Dr. Khan, but he seems so nice." And I told my best friend, and she was going to come, but then I left her in the dust because I had to hurry and get here because I was running so late. But yeah, that's all I would say is thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Did you prepare a song for us?
No.
I asked you to prepare a song.
I don't recall you asking me.
I thought, can you sing a song? Can you do a song? Because we talked about politics. We talked about your move. But can you sing us a song?
If I knew like a fight song for one of the Mississippi schools, I would take a gander, but I don't.
You don't know any other songs?
No.
That's highly unusual.
I actually got corrected on social media last night when I posted we were leaving because I didn't do O-L-E. I did Old Miss.
Wow.
And really the only reason that we chose Old Mississippi, because when we were visiting, they said, well, you got to choose Mississippi University or Old Miss. I hope I'm doing that right. And we have bulldogs. We're bulldog parents.
Right.
So, of course, we're choosing the one with the little bulldog.
Absolutely.
But no, I do not have a song.
Before you came, we were singing songs, and we were hoping you would actually add one. But
we're making a soundtrack album, you see.
Yes.
And we need as many songs as possible.
Lord. Oh, my.
So we were hoping you would, but if you absolutely do not want to sing the song, we can surprise her.
Sure. You want to surprise her with something fun?
Well, I was just thinking. See, she's leaving.
Right.
She's our friend.
Right.
And we want to have somebody sing to her that may have started this whole thing, maybe in a bad way, and now finish it in a good way.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask my friends to maybe spring the surprise.
Come on up, everybody. Let's go. Hustle, hustle. We don't have all night. Well, we do have all night, actually. We could go all night, couldn't we? Everybody squeeze in.
It's up to you. We can go either side. Yeah.
Oh, my.
Goodness, the footsteps is like a herd of elephants.
Good old Frank.
Okay. All right. Cool. My way. Okay. Good choice.
Here we go.
There.
And now the The end is near. And so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll stay clear. I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. I've traveled every highway.
Take it home, everybody.
And more, much more than this.
I did it my way.
Nailed it. Absolutely nailed it.
That is awesome. That is
Very
awesome.
good. Okay, couple more things we need to take care of. Every guest gets handed this envelope now, or this file. Before you open it up,
Okay.
there's 2 bits of paper in there. Each bit of paper has a way to describe how you feel about the show.
Okay.
One says friend. If you feel like we are your friend, then you can hold friend up to the camera. If you feel like we are polite, tolerant acquaintances, select that one. Hold it up to the camera, and we won't be offended. We won't be offended.
It's not the price
Maybe
is
a little
right.
bit.
I already know.
Okay, a little bit offended.
A
little bit offended. Okay. So pick which one you would like, hold it up to the camera, and we will wrap this thing up. Go for it.
Dr. Khan is my people.
Yay! Fantastic. For you, a gift from Main Street Antiques.
Right.
Spend it wisely and spend it quickly, because you're not going to be around for much longer.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
We have a quick PSA to pass on. We were talking before about Johnny and Ruth McDaniels. There's a fund for them at Premier Bank. They had an issue with their house, caught fire. There was some significant damage. If you can pass on some bucks to them, that would be absolutely wonderful. It's Johnny and Ruth McDaniels. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Johnny and Ruth McDaniels, Premier Bank here in town. Donate what you can, and that would be absolutely wonderful. We are plumb out of time right here on Coffee Anyone, so we extend our combined hand of friendship and respect to Alison Harrison as our guest here on the show. But what, if anything, are we taking away from this whole experience? We know that Do Re Mi serves coffee and tea to die for, with all kinds of flavours and types, that you should swing by their unique location here on College Avenue and try them all. You can start a coffee tasting blog. You could live tweet it, something along those lines. I don't know what the kids do nowadays. Thank you to Main Street Antiques for sponsoring the show. We do love you guys. Subscribe to the channel, and remember, don't miss another episode, and perhaps most importantly, never miss an opportunity to take a new friend seriously. Say goodnight, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.